o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and begin here. We do have a quorum. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the January 27th meeting of the City of Erie Land Bank. And to begin, I would like to ask for a motion to approve the agenda and the minutes from our December 16th meeting.
I move that we approve the consent agenda and the minutes from the last meeting.
I second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
And before we move on to our finance report, I just want to pause quickly. We do have a new member. I want to welcome Mr. Sumner Nichols. He's representing the school board on the land bank, so welcome aboard. Look forward to working with you. So
Thank you. And I have to go to a doctor's appointment, so I only will be here for 15 minutes. But I'm looking at the agenda and I see that you're having election of officers, and of course Daria is now off of this board, so she wouldn't be running as an officer. I am not interested in running as an officer at this point because I'm just getting familiarized with it, just to tell you that.
sure. Okay. Well, we'll take that into account, and yeah, I think that's a typo. We'll strike her name from that, but
Yeah, I just identified the
yeah.
Current one.
slate.
Right.
That's
Yep.
as well, so that everyone's-
I don't want to be a stand-in is what I'm trying to say.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, well, welcome aboard. Look forward to working with you in the new year.
Yes.
So, all right, let's go ahead and move on to the finance report. April?
Thank you. So in your packet, you have the balance sheet first. It was showing the year ended in the checking account balance was $85,231.88. In the escrow, we still had $30,000. On the back of that page, the profit and loss, we were showing a loss of $29,027.18. There was a period of time there where there was no signatory to sign our checks from the Erie County Land Bank, so there were 2 months behind where we had not received payment, and we were waiting on that.
Is your microphone on?
It's on.
Oh,
And
that's my hearing.
and then we had the first payment of the rehab project that we had undertaken for Cameron Road that had been paid out. We were waiting for reimbursement for that. So we had some large expenses, and we were waiting on about $60,000 coming in. But that is why we were showing year end with a negative balance. The page after that is the budget versus actuals. And then the final page is the check detail for December of all the checks that were dispersed.
So they now they have their new director. Is that all squared away?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Good. Any questions on the December financials?
So I appreciate receiving the budget versus actual on the operating statement. That's very good. Can we, moving forward, maybe include on the check details the memos to the, the nature that the budget line item may have come from?
We have tried that. QuickBooks was not printing the memo or description field that was typed into it, unless it was an automatic withdrawal or an ACH that was coming out. But hopefully for Blackbaud, now that we are moving over into that, once we get that entered from the rest of the year end, and then we have to start entering manually all of January's. We're doing it in both systems still for a
Okay.
little while,
Right.
but I'm hoping that on their reports it'll be showing a little more detail for you.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Any other questions on financials? Hearing none, then I ask for a motion to approve the finance report.
I move we approve it.
Thank you. In a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That takes us to citizens' comments. Do we have citizens wishing to speak today? Any citizens' comments? Hearing none, we're going to go ahead and move on to report of the executive director. Aaron?
All right, thank you, Chris. So just a couple updates for the board. Rehabilitation of 2321 Cameron Road is progressing fairly rapidly. Currently, the only thing left to complete at that property is the exterior siding and the construction of the front porch area. Weather permitting, that should be done here. Hopefully within the next month. Again, there's footings and stuff involved, so we're waiting on weather. But other than that, inside is carpets installed, floorings installed, cabinets, counter, everything else is in and ready. So I'm going to try to get out there this week. If the board would like to schedule a day, I can send out some times, and the board is welcome to come out and walk through the property and just kind of give your thoughts, questions, concerns, punch list items on it as well. But the inspector's been out there. There's a payment request that is in the folder for the chair and secretary to sign today for the second draw, which basically completes everything up into the exterior items that are still left to be completed.
That's great.
This is a renovation undertaken by the Erie Land Bank itself of property?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think that's great, because I don't like the name of this organization, Land, because once they're knocked down, we're in trouble. Even derelict structures have some value. So once the buildings are gone, which I know often has to occur, it's a pretty heavy lift to get them up and running. So I'm pleased to hear you're undertaking rehabs directly.
Thank you. Yeah, this is the first one undertaken directly by the Erie Land Bank.
I hope you hit budget, because I never do.
Well, I think that's, first of all, I'm glad to hear that. And this is the first one. You're sort of coming in at the ground level, even though we've been up and running for a while, at least on this front. And so I would love to be able to see it. And hopefully my schedule allows for that, but any of us for that matter, I think it would be nice to.
Yeah, we'll send out a
So
poll to see what everyone's availability is and
Yeah.
get a date and time schedule with the contractor.
It's great. It's great to hear that. Thank you.
Yep. And then one other item, just for the board to be aware, 1737 West Sixth Street, which was the vacant parcel out on the west side. The deal to sell that to the individual has fallen through, so that will need to go back out. But that brings up a good conversation I think we need to have outlined under other business, is discussion as far as on those type issues, what the board's going to look for. So I think, as we work through the agenda today, when we get down to other business, kind of like to know, as we prepare to put that property and another one out for developer proposals, what we're looking at. So I think this agenda is kind of built and focused on that development piece of the land bank's operation.
What was the sales price of that lot?
I think we had I think it was a proposal for $20,000. So, and then the big thing to keep in mind with the land bank is, and when we convey properties under developer agreements, there's a lot more to it than just the sales price. So, but it's kind of
Do
looking.
you normally require them to commit to develop the property as well?
Yes,
Good.
that was
Good. I
specifically
didn't
what
know
that one was for, and so,
Yeah.
that's kind of where we need to look at how we move forward and what specifically the board will want to see in every proposal that is presented for that development opportunity.
And I think, especially being new to the board, Mr. Nichols, we can maybe have a sidebar and talk about how, each one of these, they're all unique, right? And this is one that, we were hopeful there was going to be a development. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. And, the discussion later on about this lot and one or two others, I think it's important that we set our expectations in the new year for what we expect and not just settle for a vacant lot again.
Yeah.
So if you're not able to stick around for that part of it, we can talk later. But,
Yes, because I have some expertise, or at
Yeah.
least I've spent over $1 million doing it on my own.
Yep. So, okay.
That is all I have.
That's all I have for now. All right. That takes us to our solicitor's report. It's good timing.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Happy New Year. Sumner, nice to meet you. Nice to see you again.
Nice
Welcome.
to see you.
I always like bringing good news. And you would have received a report that, for the most part, has a lot of good news. We have sold 7 of the recent parcels. There's 2 left to be sold of the 7. We are continuing to work through getting abatement of some real estate taxes so that and the properties that have been purchased as a result of the most recent tax sale, so we're working through that. I wanted to give you an update on the ejectment action on 621 Wallet Street. I want to kind of give a little bit of a shout out to Kyle. He's done a lot of work in helping facilitate a removal of a longtime tenant who I really shouldn't even call as a tenant, but she's there. She is in the process of not being there anymore if she isn't already gone. But Kyle was really helpful in facilitating that process. There were 4 quiet title actions that were very long in the tooth, and we have made significant progress within the past 3 months. We had a hearing in front of Judge Piccinini. He okayed all the orders that were presented to him for clearing of those titles. So by mid-February, we wait an additional 30 days from those orders, whereupon a final order will be entered saying that the title is clear. So we're doing more and more quiet title actions to help facilitate the Erie Land Bank in transferring properties free and clear, so that the ultimate buyers, if so needed title insurance, that they would be able to buy the properties knowing that they're free and clear, with us buying them from the tax sale. Again, title insurance companies panic about that because they just think that there's stragglers out there. So when we've taken the properties by means of the tax sale, we do the quiet title action. The orders are signed off. We've served everybody. We now know the process. We're comfortable with the judge. The judge is comfortable with us in that process. So we will have that final order entered of record in mid-February on those properties. And again, those are designated accordingly. We were successful, and Aaron, refresh my recollection here. I think that this was property that we purchased, but that we were successful in getting a deed from that prior owner to help clear it up. There weren't any other liens or encumbrances or judgments. It was coming out of it might have been coming out of a tax sale or maybe a condemnation action. But what I wanted to do again was to almost do the belt and bootstrap or suspenders approach, get the prior owner to sign off on the quitclaim deed as well. So we were successful in doing that on the property again at 649 Downing Court, for clarification purposes that's a Downing Court. And then we've prepared the deeds for the transactions from the Redevelopment Authority to the Erie Land Bank on the properties on page 2. All those properties were condemnation-initiated actions by the Redevelopment Authority. We've secured title. We're now transferring them to the Land Bank so the Land Bank can make those transfers to third parties or have it part of the portfolio for use down the road as well. So again, this is really a summary. We have a lot going on. We're making significant progress. There is a really good interaction between our office and obviously Aaron's office, and most importantly, Judge Piccinini, who seems to be the recipient of our filings. And so things are happening quicker, smoother, without having to go back and redo a couple of things, cross some T's and dot some I's. So we're making sure that everybody's aware with what is needed to be done and what the expectations are over the courthouse. So we're in a good place. So with that, that's the extent of the report at this point.
So I don't have a question, I have just more of a comment.
Yes.
Thank you for all your efforts in this. These are conversations we had, obviously over the prior months, going back a year or even longer. These are the hidden gears in the machine that either work right or they don't. And, to most folks out there, they may not even understand this step of the process or how important this is. But this is the type of thing that we by fine-tuning the process, will enable transactions to work more smoothly going forward, and that's vital. We don't want to have the image or the idea out there that, you know, trying to work with the land bank for a purchase or development project is difficult. These are the kind of things that smooth that out for future projects. So even though it's one of those things that's sort of buried in the technicalities and the average person may not even understand the importance of this, I do, and I appreciate it, and I'm glad that this process seems to be gaining a little more momentum. I think everybody's getting comfortable with what we're trying to do and a better understanding of it, and it shows. So thank you.
And Chairman, you're exactly right. What our municipality is doing, what the city of Erie is doing, is very rare. We're, you know, as Aaron goes and talks with other people in similar situations, we're kind of the trendsetter. So we're working out the kinks, and it has taken a little bit of time, but we now know what's expected and what needs to be done. And the court knows that as well, and the court knows that when we come in front of them, that we've crossed our T's and dotted our I's, so there is a comfort level. But Chairman, you're exactly right. It did take a little bit of time because we are breaking new grounds, and it's working well, and I'm excited about the opportunity. We're making a huge impact upon our city, and I'm happy to be a part of it. So thank you for your patience in letting us all get to that point where now we feel like it's a smooth running machine. Thank you.
I just want to add that you're removing a huge impediment to the marketability of those properties. In my career, I only filed 2 or 3 quiet title actions. It's not anything most attorneys want to get involved in because of the time involved, the advertising, the technical nature of it. So, you know, I think that's a great thing that's being accomplished here, and poor Kyle has to deal with it, but they're tedious to undertake, and they'll kill most deals just because of the time factor.
And that's correct. So now we have a number of them going through, and we've gotten a number through, but some of you are exactly right. Thank you. Thank you.
Very good. And Kyle, thank you for your efforts as well. Okay, I think that's going to take us to unfinished business and new business. Election of officers. My microphone is causing me issues, so I'm just going to speak without that. So let's move on to the election of officers. Floor open for discussion. As I had said before, I'm open to current slate and organizing that, and make sure everybody feels it's the right path forward.
I see there's only 5 positions. I'm trying to duck out, but I don't want to lean on anybody else. So I'd certainly consider being assistant secretary or vice chair. I'm just, you know, I'm in an apprentice status, so I don't want to.
Certainly, and I'm an appointee for the redevelopment authority, so to avoid overcomplicating, I shouldn't have a high role.
And for clarification, the board chair and the secretary sign all deeds and other legal documents associated with the land bank, and the board chair and treasurer sign all checks associated with disbursement under the land bank.
I really think we need to keep these as assistants.
Yeah,
Right?
that's kind of what I'm thinking. Just for the appearance of too much control, you know, I think is appropriate.
Mr. Nichols, would you be open to secretary?
Assistant secretary, not secretary.
No?
We are hiring a superintendent right now in the school district, and it's a nightmare as the time it takes.
In which case, if there's no concern by Mr. Snifford or our legal counsel, I would assume the role of secretary, given my
Thank you.
role as chair of the
Okay.
redevelopment authority. I mean, just, again, you know, just the appearance of,
Yeah, I don't,
I don't see that would be a problem.
I don't have any, I appreciate it.
Sure.
Big pay raise.
All right.
All right, Chuck, we'll put you in a second.
Do I get a new pen?
You know, also what happens when you do miss a meeting is you miss your job. So, Mr. Campbell, I think will remain as our treasurer. Unless we have other ideas. All right, well, I guess we see where this is going.
So I'll make the motion that to nominate Chris Groner as chair, Deborah Smith as vice chair, Charles Scalise as secretary, Paul Campbell as treasurer, Sumner Nichols as assistant treasurer, secretary.
I'll second it.
Clarification. All right, all in favor of that slate for the 2025 election of officers, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I have to leave now for a
Understand.
doctor's appointment. Thank you. I'm
Yep.
looking forward to this and learned quite a bit just in this 15 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to, what do we have here? Okay, these are updates on some policy, right?
Yep. So the first number 2 there is Erie Land Bank signatory. So it's identified within our bylaws how the signatories work for the land bank. However, in working with Gene and his team, sometimes it's hard to send them the entire bylaws for what they need as far as to identify for different legal offices and such. So I drafted a resolution just kind of as a one-page summary directly off of our bylaws as a document that the board can approve, pass, sign, and we can utilize moving forward to hand off to Marsh and anybody else who necessarily needs it, truly identifying the chairman signs, the secretary attests, and then who steps in the absence. There was a situation back in December. Daria wasn't available, but there was no, it was very muddy as far as how to try to explain who signed and who was back up and such. So this document just kind of helps, this resolution, helps define that, puts it into 5 simple steps and makes it easy for anybody who would need it to decipher.
So this is not changing anything, it's just clarifying it.
Yes.
Bless you.
Try this again. Okay, this seems pretty straightforward. Any questions on, do you want us to move these one at a time, or?
Yes, if you
Yeah.
would, please.
Any questions on the revision or the clarification rather of signatory process?
No.
Straightforward to me. Okay, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll move that the resolutions presented be adopted.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. Okay, Aaron, auditor contract.
All right. So the past few years, actually, since the land bank's inception, we have utilized Felix and Glucker for our annual yearly audit. We felt this year it was, as the redevelopment authority was going out for auditors, we would put out a proposal for the land bank. So that went out in December, November, October. Okay. And so we received some proposals. I'm trying to think. It was in here how many we. So we reviewed all the proposals. Mauro Dussel, is that how you say it? Mayor Dussel, located at 2216 West 50th Street, Suite 101, Erie, Pennsylvania, provided the best value that meets the necessary qualifications required for our auditing services. Their fee for 2024 fiscal year is cost of $8,500. So it is the recommendations of the Board of Directors to enter into an agreement with Mayor Dussel for auditing services for the Erie Land Bank for 2024 at a cost of $8,500. I believe they provided a fee schedule for a renewable contract up to 5 years for the land bank to continue to option as such. I think that pretty much sums it up. April, any comments? No?
So I've not worked with them before. Have you?
I have not. Name is familiar, but you know, you tend to know everybody in town. I mean, but I've not had any direct contact with them. And I'm
Some of the
assuming,
references. Okay.
I was going to say, is the redevelopment authority also moving to this firm as well, or?
What's the redevelopment? Who do redevelopment authority pick?
Zelenkovsky Axelrod,
Oh, okay, so a different firm.
different firm for race, yeah.
Just, you know, sometimes you want to be able to keep them together and,
We've done that for the past 4 years.
Mayor Dusel's references had a lot more of the land bank focus
Okay.
Across the state, so they're familiar with land banking in general, which is probably more like a niche area as opposed to any other auditor that's doing other types of government auditing. So, and then the Zelenkovsky Axelrod that we had chosen for race had a lot of cities, counties, municipalities, and redevelopment authorities, housing authorities. So that's, we chose differently, but we did think that this was the best fit for the land bank.
okay.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, I trust your judgment, and I had not worked with them before, and so I'm just curious. But, any questions on this or comments? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the agreement for auditor contract for 2024?
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to accept the resolution as presented to engage Mayor Druschel for the audit for our upcoming fiscal year and subsequent years as appropriate.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second it.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, on to 2025 work plan condemnations.
All right, Kyle?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Okay, 5 properties. The first property, 1012 West 19th Street. BPRC declaration was on March 13th, 2024. Code violation notices were sent August 26, 2022, and resent 4 more times. All utilities are off. Property maintenance code violations include inoperable vehicles, junk, and debris. The next address is next door, 1014 West 19th Street. Received the BPRC declaration on March 13th, 2024. Code violation notices sent 8/26/2022 and resent 4 more times. Utilities are all off. Property maintenance code violations, doors, windows, walls, rear steps, fences, fire damage, electrical wiring, junk, debris, and weeds. Third property, 2656 Cochran Street, received the BPRC declaration March 13th, 2024. Code violation notice is sent on 8/26/2022 and resent 4 more times. All utilities are off. Property maintenance code violations include doors, windows, walls, rear steps, fences, inoperable vehicles, fire damage, electrical wiring, junk and debris, and weeds. Next address, 933 East 5th Street. BPRC declaration, March 13th, 2023. Code violation notice is sent 6/3/2016 and resent 10 more times. All utilities are off. Property maintenance code violations include doors, windows, front steps, gutters and downspouts, soffit and fascia, roof walls, porch junk and debris, and weeds. Okay, 1123 East 11th Street. BPRC declaration was April 10th, 2024. Code violation notices sent 6/5/2015 and resent 6 more times. And all utilities are off. Property maintenance code violations include doors, windows,
front porch, front steps, gutters and downspouts, soffit and fascia, walls, rear porch, shed, fences, junk and debris, and weeds. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. I just want to comment, these are obviously all very troubling properties. I appreciate the work that's gone into these. I also appreciate the focused nature of a lot of these properties. I've walked 3 of these, and I know that they are in a close proximity to other cleanup efforts through both the city's code enforcement office and through the city's authority. And so I like when we can have a focused effort like this. So I'm happy to see these get to us today. So thank you.
Well, and I appreciate the handout. It's really helpful because I didn't have a chance to walk these. So to the staff involved, thank you for the extra effort.
Yeah, if you drive over, as Chris said, that West 19th Street, these properties, these 2 parcels in that area they're the only bad eggs in that entire block. There's another one around the corner that's a little bit of an issue, but, very stable commercial district with one property that is just deplorable, so.
Yeah, this is quite literally going to change an entire city block. And it's in addition to a couple properties right around the corner that are actually in the process of demo right now. Well, one already was, one is now. So it's just a focused effort that's going to really change, for that matter, a couple of blocks in the city. So happy to see it. Do you have any questions on the proposed condemnation acquisitions?
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the resolution which condemns 1012 West 19th Street, 1014 West 19th Street, 2656 Cochran Street, 933 East 5th Street, and 1123 East 11th Street.
You're doing the heavy lifting today.
I got promoted, so I better
Yes.
get my work done, right?
I get a second.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This is terrific. Thank you. I'm happy to see this. Takes us to developer agreement amendment.
All right, thank you. So, as you may recall, back in mid-2024, we met in study session to discuss some of the issues associated with the development proposals through the land bank. And so we talked through many of those, and then I apologize, I was going to have another document for you today, but this morning kind of got away from me when I got back from vacation. So, but to summarize it, we put out a lot of properties out for developer proposals, and a lot of them haven't been successful. They're still out there. We really only had 4 successful completions out of a total of about 15 of those, which in my opinion, over 5 years, we need to do something. And so we enacted an escrow payment of $10,000 on properties, hoping that would hold developers' feet to the fire because we had funding that they could get released as they progress on the property. We quickly determined that was $10,000 apparently was not enough. And so that we, as April said in the financial report, we still have $30,000 sitting in escrow with properties that have drawn down $2,500 to $5,000, but they're still not getting completed in their time frame. So during that conversation, we talked about a couple things, and in our standard developer proposal is a right of reverter, and Gene can even talk to the fact that how troublesome that is on the legal side. I believe he even discussed that at the study session. But so we talked about in the updated policies and procedures, a deed in escrow, whereas the developer who we are transferring the property to would sign a deed back to the land bank to be held in escrow until such time as the property was successfully rehabilitated. An example of that is 256-58 West 18th Street. It was a property that the land bank conveyed back in 2020 to a developer from out of town who said he was going to be the homeowner of the property. The land bank just optioned that off the 2024 judicial tax sale because it was cleaner and easier for us to exercise our option at the tax sale as opposed to execute the right of reverter. So having a deed in escrow would have allowed us to file that on the property and take possession of that property back. So that is the one thing that is outlined in here. And then going to the part about asking for escrow, and if you recall during our conversation, it was brought up, what if we charge a developer fee monthly on the properties? That they are paying the land bank a fee for us to manage their developer fee, because the management of Kyle following up with these, going out to the property, seeing if they're done, costs the land bank administrative fees. So charging a nominal fee to the developer, one, every month as that fee comes out of their bank account, they remember they have to complete the project. And the longer they drag on, which some of these developer proposals, Kyle, do you remember if some of them date back to the developer proposals? I think Woodlawn goes back almost 2.5 years, on a proposal that was supposed to be 8-month turnaround. So, a monthly fee money would either continue to come in, or they wouldn't pay the fee, and then it would execute a default on the agreement, and we would file the deed in escrow. So,
Can I just, so is this,
Yeah.
are you saying the fee would begin from day one?
that
Or-
that would be my thought. Is it's just a fee on the developer of the property. We're selling these properties for far less than they would sell on the open market, potentially. So they're getting a deal. It was kind of something, and I put this out for discussion, for the board to talk through. We have to do something to keep them responsible, whether it's raising the escrow, which sometimes might put a burden on a developer to put that much money up front, or, institute a management fee, which helps offset the costs of administrative burden on the land bank, staff costs. So I know we have to do something. We need to
Right.
be more successful on the development side on
I
third
like-
party.
So there's two aspects, right? There's how do you create an economic way of thinking incentive, right? I mean, you got to move along, or there's a carrying cost here. And then smoothing out the legal back end of it if we have to take it back. Right?
Mhm.
Those are the two things we're talking about. I absolutely agree with that. That we need to, we're not really creating an economic disincentive by streamlining recourse here. Am I thinking of this right? I mean, I also don't want to create economic disincentive because we're having a hard time moving lots in some cases. So how much is too much? And I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know. I don't know what that number looks like.
Right.
So I'm a little hesitant to pile too much on in terms of fees. I'm all about streamlining what we need to do, a deed and escrow, and how do we take that back effectively and efficiently if we have to? Because
Yeah.
to me, that's not an economic hurdle to a developer. I don't know, does anybody want to weigh in on that, or?
Yeah, because I looked at, I put 150 in as a developer fee, looking at, standard proposals we had for developers. They typically said they would be completed in 12 months, an additional $1,800 paid over those 12
Yeah.
months, toward the land bank and we sell the property, and in most cases that covers the legal fees and doesn't even cover the costs we've already incurred to acquire that property. So that there's really nothing left. There's no proceeds for the land bank operations when we sell a property for $4,000.
I'm okay with it, I just want to make sure. At some point, you tip the scale, right? And I just want to make sure we don't do that, but.
Yeah, I don't, sorry, I'm a little ill-prepared. I know this was sent out last week, and I just really thought through this.
I think I'd almost rather have a slightly higher fee that kicks in later. Like you give folks an opportunity. If they say they're going to do something within 6 months or 12 months, you give them that time. And then do you charge a steeper fee? Maybe we're splitting hairs here. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And how do you collect the fee? What's going to compel the person to pay? Or maybe I'm not understanding the mechanics of.
So what would that look like? How would we collect that?
I can't, it's hard to hear you guys with the fan blowing.
So what would be the mechanism to collect that monthly fee?
We would set up an ACH withdrawal sheet from day one
Okay,
Oh,
and just put it into our mortgage software and pull out that notch file every month for a withdrawal from their bank account. Which then if that came back as insufficient funds, then that would be a default on their agreement, which put them in a notice of default and
Okay.
intent to cure, and we would have, they'd have 30 days to catch it up, change the information, or we file the deed in escrow.
so you obviously thought through the possibility or likelihood that may happen.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's like I said, the $10,000 in escrow that we really thought was going to do something has not. And we put these properties out, and if we conveyed one in October, I would expect end of December 2026. But some of these are dragging on. Some that we thought for sure would be a 6-month renovation. They were decent properties, from the onset. So it's just it's discouraging, and I feel we need to do something as a land bank to. We need the third-party developers. We can't, as a land bank, develop all the properties ourselves. I mean, 2023 Cameron Road is going to be a success, but we need our third-party vendors and our developers.
Sure.
are we getting any feedback? Like, are we getting a theme here? Because for a while it was COVID, it was supply chain, you can't get what you need, but we're pretty far removed from that, so what do you think it is at this point? Are you getting that feedback?
I just don't think there's from talking to the one developer, there was just kind of I'm going to get to it, and there was just there was no care to get to it at any time. He's like, well, I'm just going to get to it. It's next on my list. Well,
Sure.
You've already had possession of the property for 9 months. What's next on the list?
So even with 10,000 locked up,
Yeah, it did. Yeah, they paid $5,000 for the property. They got 15,000 out there. They're not losing any money. There's no carrying cost for them.
And in many cases, the developer is a general contractor, so labor shouldn't be an issue, or
Yeah, in most
not
cases.
in all cases, but in many cases.
Yeah, in most cases, I believe that's most of our developers are general contractors, except for a couple homeowners who have taken on a property.
So it almost feels like these are fill-in jobs, in between other jobs. These are the fill-in.
Yeah, and
The gap.
I can think of one property. It's a 2-unit. I believe both units are occupied and generating rent revenue, but we haven't satisfied the developer agreement because they haven't sided the exterior of the property yet. It's still
the
peeling and
collective
chipping
rent,
paint.
they don't really care.
Yeah.
Could we make this this monthly fee refundable if they complete the project?
Yeah, we could, whatever the will of the board is, you could 50% if there was never a default, we can structure it however, really it's open to whatever, like I said, the will of the board. There's certainly an incentive to say you could get 50% of your payments back. We would certainly have to hold that money in escrow until such time as they either defaulted or
Any
were
little thing that
successful.
just, again, keeps tipping that scale towards incentivizing to actually get done.
So I guess how do you determine if a monthly fee is gonna be taken each month? Is that because no movement's on the project? Or, you wouldn't take anything if someone was actually developing the project. So I guess how do you determine that? Is that gonna be a mandatory fee that we're gonna take this out each month regardless if the project's moving forward? And then I guess like Chris mentioned, at the end of the project, you get some of that money back, or how
Yeah.
will that work?
So what I provided, the intent was to take it starting after the signing of and transfer of the property over, that it would be a monthly fee until such time as they developed a certificate of completion. But it's not necessary, it's not set in stone. It's certainly, if as a board you want to figure out some staggered start for it, it's just, there's so many, depending upon the property, how that could be. I would have to go back and really look and think about how that would be structured, whether it was 6 months or, we've looked at changing our developer agreement to structure and be more like the redevelopment authority's relinquishment agreement, where there's defined timelines for completion of items. And so, exterior being the priority, we want the exterior of the property taken care of first. Maybe that's 3 months down the road, and at the point they default on that, maybe then they're responsible for the developer fee. But I don't know how that would be with us getting an ACH form filled out at the beginning and then all of a sudden enacting on it, then them coming back and saying, well, I was going to get to it, or, so if that would cause more of a fight than just taking that payment from the onset and moving
Yeah,
forward.
I see your point with that. I would like to refund it to them, just to help incentivize that they get this done. It's not about the money. I mean, we can always use more revenue, right? But at the end of the day, in our budget, we're talking, that's a small amount. I mean, I'm kind of open to refunding the entire thing. Like, do what you say you're going to do, we're going to give it back to you.
What about, if they complete it within the original designated time frame, they would get it refunded? I'm just saying, because
Right, yeah.
if we're going to give it all back, what's the incentive to get it done by 12 months? Now we push it out 18 months. I'm just going to get that money back. It's like paying into a retirement account. I'm going to cash out at some point. I always look at, we have to have some level of enforcement, and we in essence, hold a golden ticket on them getting it completed by a certain time, because if you don't, it sunsets and you lose any right to that funding.
I kind of agree with Aaron on that. I
Yeah.
mean, if they're not going to do the project when it's, the timeline says, then why would we give them an incentive to get their money back?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
It just puts another reminder on the calendar for them, right? Like, I'll get my money back if I get it done. And
Yeah.
again, to them, it may be such a small amount that they'll let that go too, but at least it's helping to pay for us to carry it.
Yeah. Because that seems more of a carrot and less of a stick.
Yeah.
It feels more positive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Can we tweak that then?
Yeah, I can revise that.
And will that revision require board approval or just our direction?
So say, do you want to bring that back next month? Why
Yeah,
don't
I
we
was
do
going to
that?
say,
Okay.
being that it's our policies and procedures,
All right.
I'll do a
Yeah.
revision, and then the board can
Yeah.
adopt the
Yeah, I
revised
think
policies
that's
and
great.
procedures.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
want to get it right.
Don't mean to create more work for you, but this feels a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's lots of nuances here.
Yeah.
Well, that's, and to Gene's point, it's uncharted waters. We're
Yeah.
building the bike while we're trying to ride it down the road, and so, it's hard to change a tire while we're keep going. So I'll make those revisions, and I'll have it back in front of the board, hopefully in another week or so for you to review, and then we can have it on the agenda in February.
It's quite the picture you painted there.
I'm used to packing the parachute on the airplane, but
Yeah.
we'll go with the bike. It seems safer.
Okay, so we'll revisit this point next month, and thank you for that. I think, obviously, it's important, and I appreciate you taking the time to structure a revision here, because we talk about it, and then it kind of slides, and then let's get it in place, so thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, other business.
All right, so as I talked about in the executive director report, so 1737 West Sixth Street is a valuable piece of real estate we have on West Sixth Street. We took care of demolishing the property, and if you recall, we put it out for developer proposals, but in that, we wanted them to provide us with what they intended to develop on that property. And we had an individual who had put in some elevations of a structure, and he just felt it wasn't in his best interest to move forward. So we're kind of back to that point. But, we have a lot of interest when we put this property out for people who want to hold it as a vacant lot. And we all know they're just going to hold it till value goes up, and then they're going to try to sell it. But, to incentivize development, what will the board, what does the board want to see as, we put this property in, and then we have another one at, up on Locust Street, which is a very viable development opportunity. Potentially 2 structures could be built on the lot. And it's one that I've been kind of sitting there until we work through this development proposal part of it, because I think that'll be very instrumental in that as well. But, when we accept those proposals, of course, when we put it out for proposals, we're going to get a lot of people who just want to buy the lot, and they have no intent to build anything. They just want to sit on it. It's not, Locust Street is not a good option for a side lot. 1737 West Sixth Street is perfect development opportunity, but so what are we looking for? Are we looking for plans, I kind of, walk through what you'd like to see, and I can craft it, however the board sees fit.
Okay, so I'll just jump right in. These two lots, I'm not ready to surrender on the idea that these get developed, right? I mean, that's why we have 100% LERTA in the city. We need to encourage that development. So if there's something beyond what we're doing now we need to do, then we need to think about that. But I'm all for holding on to these until we get the right project. Maybe we need to reach out to people who have looked at Locust, for example, and let them know where we're at and see if they want to revise their proposals. Just so that people don't have the sense that they think they submitted something and that, why aren't they getting back to me? Let's reach out to those folks and say, okay, we appreciate your interest. Here's where we are as a board. We really want to see this be developed. We do not want to see this be a sideline. If you are interested, please come back with that plan. In terms of incentivizing it enough to get a shovel in the ground, again, advertising this in conjunction with 100% tax abatement for 10 years. Do these folks know that? They need to be told that. Can we look at creating some kind of way to refund the cost of the lot if they actually finished the house, get a certificate of occupancy, and did what they said they're going to do, and we accomplished our mission? Is there that small token that maybe at the end we can incentivize it that way? I'm just throwing an idea out there. That if you actually follow through and you build and complete the vision that we had for this, that we'll refund you the cost of the lot purchase. Some kind of little carrot. Again, it's about a carrot, not a stick.
Absolutely.
And maybe there's creative ways, for financing, which we can talk offline. Maybe it's probably going to be a combination of things, and that we package it like that. It's for sale, qualifies for 100% tax abatement. You end up building the family home here, like you say you're going to. We're also going to refund you the cost of the lot when you get your certificate of occupancy, when you're done. Just random things that I thought about.
Yeah.
Whether that's doable or not, I don't know, but
Sounds like a nice incentive.
it's almost like you have to package it together, right? And, maybe there's a way to do 0% financing on that, or some kind of, either with what the resources you have or the funds that I manage, because we're not talking about a large number. This might be 1 or 2 of these a year.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, and the lot is very visible,
Yeah.
so perhaps as once we decide what the incentive package is and do nice, spend the extra effort with a really like a 4x8 sign, something that's really kind of in the face. I mean, I think the signs that I saw, because I passed through occasionally, they were somewhat modest, within budget. I appreciate that, but maybe this is a chance where we could do some marketing, and not only for that lot, but also help to advance the image of the land bank as well.
if we could put it on the land bank's website, I could share it with the city's social media, and just throw the address out there. Qualifies for 100% tax abatement for 10 years on a home that's developed here. Also qualifies for potential refund of purchase of the lot if you actually build the home. And then, the financing we can talk about if we are legally allowed to do that, but that could be another piece. But for today's conversation, I'm with you. We didn't come this far and invest this much to clean these up, to just have it become a side lot that we may have to clean up again. The purpose is to re-densify and to get homes built in the city. So I'd like to enter into another building season, which we're coming into, and see if we can incentivize in a way that actually gets a shovel in the ground.
Sure.
So I'm okay with remaining patient.
Okay.
I would ask that with 221, since we have had interest in it, that we at least reach out to them and say, here's where the board is today. Are you interested in revising your proposal?
Okay,
Yeah.
understood. I'll put a letter together for all interested parties. I'll send it out and I'll get it out. We'll get it up on the website, those two properties with, accepting proposals with detailing what we're looking for and incentivize the LERTA. And then, I'll have Kendra work on some signage and we'll get those two out there, so.
I know I'm putting you on the spot, Counselor. Do you have any initial thoughts on the idea of refunding lot purchase? I mean, just,
You certainly can structure it that way. I don't know where that would run into any problems, but again, I think it's a great idea for incentivizing development. We as a board want to see structures going on those properties for sure. As Aaron was discussing these properties, I'm going through my head with the different developers in Erie who I know and deal with, who may not even know that these lots are available. So shame on me for not helping facilitate that. So that's going to change here this week. I'll reach out to them, and because they're great sites, great opportunities, not only for the land bank, but also whoever that developer is.
yeah.
It's perfect advertising for them.
Yeah, I mean, we have to find the right economic balance, right? What is enough to get them here to put the shovel in the ground without giving them a store away, right?
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
That's
And
exactly
so
right.
clearly, we're not there yet.
Right.
So let's give this a shot, because maybe if this does work, this could be the model moving forward. I don't know. We're building the bike right now as we're riding it. That's what you said.
Everything's
so.
we're trying, so.
But I don't see where there would be any problem with refunding, any of the funds for the lot purchase, and that may even be beneficial. When I'm thinking in my head, the underwriters for the bank who's giving a construction loan, maybe more.
Right.
It may fit in better knowing, hey, look, there's going to be this much money coming back. So this developer is going to qualify to finance this build because we know that there's going to be money coming back.
Yeah, we can pledge the lot as equity, so they don't have to have 20% into the deal. That's a high hurdle. There's
Right.
ways to do this, I think.
There is.
So, thank
So
you.
I like it.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think we'll keep talking about that, and
Yeah, I'll get the website changed. I'll get them up on there, and we can, if proposals come in, I can bring them in front of the board or send them to the board, and we can have further discussion on that, so.
okay. Well, thank you for that. There's a whole lot of ground we covered today. I really appreciate everybody's hard work on this. We are, there's certain days it may not feel like it, but we are making very good progress. And I appreciate Aaron and your staff and the hard work you're doing. And Kyle, thank you. We'll just, we'll keep plowing ahead in the new year. So any
Thank you.
other comments or?
There's a change order in our packets, and I was
Yes,
just
so
wondering, do we take
other
action
business,
on
there
that?
is a change order, and we've been holding on to it since early December, just because at that point, for 2321 Cameron Road, the water still hadn't been activated, and we wanted to make sure in case there was anything. At this point, it's the end of January. I don't foresee with the way the property is, I believe this should be our last and final change order. The only thing left is siding and the front porch. So just a $500 change order, $520 change order to change out the base cabinets in the kitchen, which we were originally going to just paint. So now the kitchen cabinets and the base cabinets, uppers and lowers, all match. They're all brand new with new countertops. So, yeah, that's where we're at. So.
We're still pretty close to the original budget, right? We haven't, this is only the second change.
Yeah, it's
order,
only the second
so,
change, right? Yeah, we're well within budget.
Okay. So,
Mr. Chair, I make the motion to accept the change order number 2 as presented for an additional $520 for upgrading or replacing the base cabinets in the kitchen. They all match. We
I'll
should-
second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. That is all I have.
wraps it
other
up
than
today.
To
Okay,
remind the chair and secretary to see Cynthia to sign documents before you leave.
very good. Well, thank you again, everyone, and have a good month, and we are adjourned. Thanks.